Imagine the earth beneath you isn't just dirt. It's a slurry of iron, lead, and the remains of those who stood there yesterday. You aren't just fighting an enemy soldier. You're fighting a landscape designed to tear the human body apart in ways the world had never seen. Before we dive into the mud, a quick note. The story you're about to hear is a work of pure fiction. While the medical conditions and historical context are harrowing realities of the Great War, our characters and their specific journeys are products of our imagination. Today, we explore the brutal injuries of World War I and the desperate, often the primitive, measures taken to save lives. It's important to note that the medical and the surgical landscapes of World War I were vastly different from those of World War II. In World War I, we were still fighting the ghosts of 19th century, dealing with massive infections before the invention of penicillin. We will be diving deep into the advanced surgical techniques and life-saving innovations of World War II in a separate video coming very soon. But for now, we go back to 1916, to the butcher's bench. Meet Arthur. He's 19. The air smells of sulfur and rotting cabbage. In a split second, the world turns white. A German 5.9-inch shell, a Jack Johnson, explodes 20 yards away. Arthur isn't hit by a clean bullet. He's peppered with shrapnel. Jack, hot iron spheres and casing fragments. Unlike the high-velocity, aerodynamic rounds of the later wars, World War I shrapnel was filthy. It dragged pieces of Arthur's mud-caked uniform, horse manure from the soil, and illustrated wire directly into his thigh. The reality of World War I drama, shrapnel versus bullets. 60% of all wounds were caused by shellfire. The infection factor. The soil of northern France was heavily manured for centuries, teeming with Clostridium perfringens. Gas gangrene. Within hours, Arthur's wound doesn't just hurt, it bubbles. The bacteria produce gas under the skin, turning the flesh black and causing it to crackle like parchment paper. Arthur's journey to survival is a race against biology. In World War I, the medical chain of evacuation was a brutal gauntlet. The Regimental Aid Post, RAP, located just yards from the front. Here, a medic applies a first field dressing, essentially a pad and the bandage. No antibiotics, no morphine for the minor cases. The advanced dressing station. A 3-mile trek through knee-deep sludge. Arthur is carried on a stretcher. Many carriers are killed along the way. The Casualty Clearing Station, CCS. This is where the butcher's bench earned its name. At the CCS, surgeons faced a nightmare. In World War I, the primary surgical philosophy was debridement, because they lacked the sulfur drugs and penicillin that would define World War II. Surgeons had to be aggressive. They didn't just clean a wound, they cut away massive amount of living tissue to ensure not a single speck of infected mud remained. If it looks suspicious, cut it out. If the limb is shattered, take it off. This was the era of Thomas Splint. Before its widespread use in 1916, a fractured femur, like Arthur's, had an 80% mortality rate due to internal bleeding and shock. With the splint, the rate dropped to 20%. It was a simple frame of iron, but it was the difference between a funeral and a fugit. The medical and surgical techniques greatly differed between World War I and World War II. The infection control was so meager and so basic. In World War I, the blood transfusion, it was directly from person to person or crude glass bottles. It was often clotted. The primary killer in World War I was sepsis and gas gangrene. While in World War II, these techniques advanced greatly, which we will discuss in another video in detail. Arthur survived. He left the trenches with a prosthetic leg and the mind haunted by the drumfire of the guns. He was one of the millions who became a living laboratory for modern medicine. The horrors of Great War forced us to learn how to repair faces through early plastic surgery, and how to store blood for the dying. We paid for that knowledge in blood. But the story of medical evolution doesn't end in the mud of the song. As the world recovered, the seeds for an even greater medical revolution were sown, one that would define the 1940s. Stay tuned for our next episode, where we look at the glass houses of World War II and the discovery that changed surgery forever. Until then, remember the cost of the ground we stand on.